Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm so grateful that you could join us today. We are here with a very longtime friend and a new friend to talk about a wonderful event, the Teaneck International Film Festival. If you're a friend of the YW, you know about what we call TIFF because we have been supporting it for uh, all the time that I've been at the YW, which is 10 years now. So we always want more people in the community to support it because it really is the film festival that is about social activism and about creating change in our community using art. And we're so grateful to have such a gem right in our community in Northern New Jersey and Teaneck. And so with that, I would like to welcome our guest today, Jeremy Lentz, who's the Executive Director of the Teaneck International Film Festival, as well as we've got our second guest also, Molly Mitchell, who's going to share a little bit about her personal journey connected to a film that the YWCA is sponsoring this year at the festival. So in case you don't know about TIFF, what I want to share with you are a couple things. One, it draws over 3,000 film goers each year, and it features films that addresses racism, oppression, the environment, LGBTQ plus community, women's concerns, immigration, and all kinds of other stories that just don't have a place to be told. And we're so grateful that, again, that we have this space in our community. This year's theme, which we'll talk more about with Jeremy, is activism, making change. And it's an opportunity to foster a deep appreciation of our differences, understanding all that we share, and encouraging the efforts to help make the world a better place. As I shared, we at the YWCA of Northern New Jersey are an ongoing supporter of the festival. And this year, mark your calendars, we'd like you to join us for the film Little Girl, which will be shown on Thursday evening, November 18th at 7:30 p.m. And you can buy a ticket. We'll talk about how you can do that just for the film. We'll have the link here in the comments for you to go to, or you could just buy a pass for the rest of the festival, which we're going to talk about that as well. Little Girl, the film that we are sponsoring at the YW, is centered around an 8-year-old, Sasha, who always knew that she was a girl and the challenges that Sasha's family has faced during their journey of acceptance. We are privileged to have Sasha's mother with us here today, Molly Mitchell, to share her personal journey, which will kind of be a little teaser because we'll be talking more after the film as part of the talk back on Thursday evening. And she'll also share a little bit about the film itself. So I'm going to give you a little background about my two guests, and then we're going to jump right in. Jeremy, who is an LGBTQ activist, and as I mentioned, the executive director of the Teaneck International Film Festival, a project of the Puffin Foundation, has been a champion for LGBTQ plus equality. In 2010, he worked with Senate Majority Leader Loretta Weinberg on a film screening to expand public awareness about the difficulties of the LGBTQ plus people face in suburbia and in small town America. And this would ultimately lead to New Jersey's passage of the strongest anti-bullying bill in the nation, which is why we talk about the importance of TIFF, because if it wasn't for the beginning moment, we couldn't get to the end. And I have to also say, Jeremy, we had this experience with last year's film that the YW was part of, really created a space for getting us here in New Jersey to be talking about some of the atrocities happening at our women's prison here. And it really came from part of the talk back and the conversation from the film. So I just, really want to just reinforce the power that this film festival has and how it really, really does spur action in our community when people get to watch and hear the conversations that happen alongside the films. And so with that, let me tell you a little bit about Molly as well. She is the principal and founder of a management consulting firm that pioneered a breakthrough approach to elevating human performance that catalyzes organizational cultures into environments where people have lived experience that they can contribute their whole selves. Her firm's unique approach is designed for executives and teams that um, who see the need for developing an alternative to hierarchical command and control cultures into organizations where everybody has the experience that they can make a full contribution and that it is valued and included. And I would think in this post-COVID environment that we're in, that now is definitely a time for that kind of support and conversation. Her work is deeply informed by her own life as she grew up at the intersection of African American and white, and as a biracial, bisexual woman whose father was a leader in the civil rights movement and a mother and grandmother who were both advocates for human rights and allies. Molly has two children, her affirmed daughter, Chloe, who is 13 years old, and an 11-year-old cisgender son she is raising with her spouse and partner in the northeastern United States. And her pronouns are she and they. So let's start with Jeremy. And so again, welcome to both of you. I think it's important to share. I know it's a lot to talk about everyone's bios, but I think it's so important, first of all, because we all should own all, that we've done. And it also helps our viewers get to know you a little bit before we jump into the conversation. So Jeremy, let's just start. I mean, you had an amazing kickoff to the festival this year. If anyone is not following TIFF, any of our viewers, if you're not following TIFF yet, on Instagram or Facebook, you should be, because you'd get access to seeing the great red carpet, all the beginning great films that happened in person already. So tell us how the festival has manifested this year.
Wow. Yeah. We just literally yesterday wrapped our final day of in person. And this year, as your viewers will find out, we're hybrid, which means that we returned to in-person screenings for the first time since 2019. And we kicked off this past Thursday and ran in-person screenings continually at Teaneck Cinemas through last night. And then today, we start our virtual week of the festival, which will run every single day at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time through Sunday, with a new live screening and a live moderated talkback for audiences. But it was great, Helen, to be back in the theater, to welcome audiences, to be able to hug again, to be able to laugh together, cry together, ask questions, eat popcorn, hear, wrappers crinkling, and all the other stuff that, you kind of take for granted. But, again, just I think that the power of community and the power of being together is so important and so needed, especially after all the loss that we've endured for the last year and a half. So it was a surreal experience. It really was. And it felt like climbing Mount Everest, to remount an opening in a much smaller capacity than what we've traditionally done in the past. But it went extremely well. We had sold out screenings. Our films were well attended, which we had really no idea kind of going into this what the response would be. And it was great to see that. And the feedback so far has been stellar. And now we turn towards our virtual week, and we're really looking forward to that.
And I know that from last year, I mean, the virtual was another amazing opportunity. I mean, you talk about the pivot, right? I mean, you guys really made the best of a challenging time for sure. But now you have people watching your screenings from all around the world.
Yeah. And I think that is such an important component in the work that we do, being that we are a social justice film festival and we are trying to raise awareness on so many important issues, and to be able to reach audiences that are throughout the nation, even internationally, who can participate, who can engage, who can learn about our community, learn about our issues, and bring maybe a different way of thinking or different ideas to different parts of the country is so critical. So in many ways, there's been a silver lining, so to speak, in the pandemic, because the technology has enabled us to reach an infinite number of people and makes our work, I think, even that much more important. And it's been a wonderful integration, and I think it's something that will continue to be a mainstay in the festival, having the virtual week and allowing people the option to choose how they want to participate, and still giving that film goer the live experience. What's so unique about the platform that we use for a virtual cinema, which is OVI and is part of public broadcast system, is the fact that all the screenings are live as well as the talkback. Nothing is canned. You're not getting a pre-recorded link to watch the movie 2 weeks out from a talkback or getting a canned talkback. You're actually in a virtual cinema that is live, that has chat features that you can communicate with other audience members. And you're also getting a screening or a talkback following the screening where the audiences can type their questions into the chat, have them message directly to the moderator, and get questions and answers in real time. So it keeps that virtual or the cinematic experience really in the virtual format. So we feel really fortunate to be able to present in the OV platform.
Well, and I know from using it last year, it really was a great opportunity because you did feel connected to everyone with all the live chatting that was happening and pinging right, while you're watching.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump to Molly in a minute. I just want to ask you before I do that, because it is a great segue to talking about the film, is the theme this year, right? So the theme of the festival is activism making change. And how did you select the films that were connected to that theme? What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Did you have all these great films and then you went to the theme, or did you hand pick films to go along with the theme that you had already set?
So, good question. Activism making change has actually been our permanent theme for the last 12 years since I took over the festival, because I became executive director in the 4th year of TIFF, and there was never a permanent theme. There were always loose fitting themes each year. But my feeling as executive director and understanding this community, Teaneck being the first town in America that voluntarily voted to desegregate its public school system, combined with the mission of the Puffin Foundation, which provides grant funding to artists who are marginalized, I felt that there had to be a hook to have audiences come to suburbia, come to Bergen County to our festival, because we're right in the backyard of New York City, where you have all these world-class international festivals like Tribeca, New York Film Festival, et cetera, et cetera. So what makes us unique is our tradition of our history, and our community really spotlights that. So we chose this theme of activism and created it as a permanent fixture. And every year we look to program films that engage audiences in some way that inspire them to positive change, where they can find out how they can get involved in community, learn about their neighbors, have some type of call to action. And each year, the various groups that we work with, like the YWCA, who have specific missions, we try to find films that fuel or combine your work with what we're doing, and mold that into a talkback and a discussion. And this film came about because we always do a lot of work on LGBTQ plus issues, and Little Girl is a French film that's out on the circuit now, and we really felt that it was one of the most beautiful and inspiring films that so sensitively deals with a trans child, and how a community and family accepts that and the journey that they take. And we felt that this film was such a beautiful narrative that will open hearts and change minds. So that's how it all came about this year.
Well, and as I said, I've watched over the history of the film festival how your films and the experience of the talkback really does open hearts and change minds. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be connected to this film, and for Molly to be here today to share her story. And of course, we're having this conversation during Transgender Visibility Week, and we're leading up to Transgender Visibility Day, which we'll talk a little bit about too. But Molly, can you, first of all, welcome. Thank you for being here and being so patient while we talk about the film festival. But I know that you're a fan too.
I am.
So can you tell us a little bit just for our viewers? I know, so for our viewers, Molly and I are going to be spending some quality time together with another guest, which we'll talk about after the film. So for those of you that'll be with us watching the film together on Thursday evening, we will be chatting in more detail after the film. But I thought it was a great opportunity to bring her to meet all of you today and to just start the conversation a little bit about what got you involved in the film festival and more specifically connected to this film as a way of sharing your family's journey.
Well, thank you so much, Helen and Jeremy. It's really a pleasure to be here with you both and to be supporting the Teaneck International Film Festival. So just real major kudos and for this opportunity. And I really want to share my deep gratitude to Sebastian Lifshitz and his vision and ability to explore this topic and the courageousness and generosity of Sasha and her family to open their lives to his documentary film in such a tremendous way. I just, art is really so central to the well-being of our society. And as I learned, art predicts the future. And as I've shared and you shared in my bio, I was raised at the intersection of African American and white. My father was a civil rights leader. He was the first African American affiliate to work as an editor for CBS News in Chicago and to editorialize the news each week on television, and formed the Afro-American Policemen's League in 1961 to empower and elevate the severely oppressed African-American community in Chicago in support of the Black Panthers, who have been villainized and demonized through government as being evil, when in fact they were quite the opposite. Their intentions were always to heal and create a strength and a commonality and a normalcy in the African American community. So I've really, one of the things that I was moved by was I watched this movie was Frederick Douglass, and he was, for us, he's a founding father. And as we all know, he was an abolitionist of the late 19th century, and he really worked to eradicate racist ideologies. And by his own design and intention, he was the most photographed person in the 19th century. So he really knew the profound significance for Black people and all marginalized people to see the image of a scholar, an academician reflected back at them in an African American, formerly seen really as a slave and as oppressed beings. And likewise, little girl normalizes the grays, the vast grays that exist between what was formerly a very rigid belief, even existing as a truth about gender, as being a binary, as there's just male and female, these two buckets. And again, Sasha and her family and their bravery and courageousness really are quashing through this artistry of Sebastian's, and I just really want to underline and support this art as visionary. And it's so vital. It's so vital to my child, a trans child of color, to Sebastian, to Sasha's family, and to the countless trans and non-binary children and their families who will see this film and see themselves and their truth reflected back at them so poignantly and delicately and powerfully.
Yeah, and I love how you said that your feeling about how art predicts the future, and I know the three of us for sure, and many join us in wanting this to be a world where these films aren't necessary anymore, and this is just in existence. But it's such a wonderful opportunity to tell stories. And to help educate people who don't. And I have to say, for my my mother, who's in her early 90s, is going to be watching the film with me, and we've been talking about it in our house. I have 8-year-old twins, and she it's been a conversation for her to understand that as young as 8 years old, that children could be experiencing, trying to figure out, these pieces of themselves in their lives. And, she wants to learn and wants to know. So I love that this film is giving that opportunity for people that, to learn and to get that, maybe their misconceptions of, well, that's too young. She keeps saying to me, I don't understand. Isn't that too young? For her to now slowly to understand the more we've been talking about it. And now after she sees the film, I'm sure even more so. So I really appreciate you sharing your own family's story within the context of the film as well, because, we all know that the stories that we tell are what build the bridges, for understanding, for sure. So can you tell us a little bit about the experience? And I know we'll talk in more detail. We don't want to, have the whole conversation now, but the experience of thinking about your family's experience in relation to this film and then sharing it. What's that, like for you and for your family to be part of this?
Well, I think those are really great questions. And I really think it's wonderful that you're sharing this film and Sasha and her family's story with your mother so that she in an older generation can come to look in her own direct experience. And for everyone, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I love about this film is that it really does have one reflect on their own experience of self. And I'm probably going to butcher it, but there was a great this anecdote that I heard from a gay man, and I can't remember where. My memory is a sieve at 49, but he said, when did you decide that you were heterosexual? And there's just no deciding. It's not like, Sasha is not deciding to be a girl. Sasha's a girl. It's, and the thing that's actually scientifically proven is that at age 3.5, which was when my daughter came out to me, is when child's psychological, neurological development clicks into gender.
Mm.
And trans children are extremely emotionally intelligent because they not only recognize who they are in terms of gender naturally, just like I knew naturally that I was a girl, just like most people naturally know who they are. Children just know who they are naturally. It's not a choice to be some way. And, the emotional intelligence that these children have is so profound. And that, my family, we've lived at the, on the fringe of society my whole life. I was born 5 years after Loving versus Virginia, which was a court case that determined if it was illegal and that a Black man and a white woman should be imprisoned for being in a committed loving relationship. So, and I grew up being called a mule and an Oreo and a zebra and illegitimate and a bastard just for being myself. And here we are now. And that sounds so incredibly primitive now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like really primitive to hear me utter those words. But that was quote unquote normal, kind of flat-footed pedestrian mindsets, 30 years ago. And here we are now, Jeremy is, sitting here saying he's standing for the LGBTQ community. And the trans and queer community really, really need people to be stepping up and including the vast diversity that exists, not just here, but I mean, the universe is an enormous place. And we are just such mere little specks within that universe. And so these judgments and assumptions about people with their unique differences is primitive. it's just primitive. So I could go on and on, but I want to.
Well, we're going to let you go on Thursday evening at the talkback for sure. But I do appreciate you, starting to shed some light on the conversation that we will be having then. And of course, appreciate, you and your family, using this space to help tell your stories, to bring others into a better place of understanding. And hopefully, joining Jeremy and I, and others to be accomplices to supporting the transgender community. Jeremy, before we sign off, we want to make sure that people know how to get a ticket, because and we want to tell them about the talkback and all
Yes.
that's going to be part of it, because we also have another guest and we're going to do some examining of some of the film and life in motion as well, not just the film.
Yeah, so people can go to the website, teaneckfilmfestival.org, and click on the tickets tab on the top of the website, and that'll direct them to our Eventbrite page. And they have a choice. They can buy for $25 an all-access virtual pass, so that'll give them access to all films starting tonight through Sunday, the 21st. Or they can purchase an individual ticket to each individual film at $5 per film. So I promise you, it's the best deal in town, and probably the best $25 or $5 that you'll spend in your life, or for sure at a film festival. So get your passes today or your tickets today, and just go again to teaneckfilmfestival.org. Everything is online, and the links will be emailed to you the morning of each individual screening. You'll get an email link. So all you have to do is click in and participate.
Yeah, and I really do encourage you to get the pass for the whole week, folks, because not only do you get to watch the films, but after each of the films, there's great conversations, that do a deeper dive into the film itself. And if you're like me, after you watch a movie, you want to turn to the person next to you and be like, "Oh my God," and talk about the film. And this is a great opportunity because it's virtual. Not only, you'll get to do that with anyone who is watching with you in your home, but with hundreds of people from all around the world, because there is that option and opportunity because of the platform that TIFF is using to be able to interchange. And if you join us on Thursday in particular, you'll get to talk with Molly, and we'll also have Tisha Alvarado from the Attorney General's office, the Department of Civil Rights here in New Jersey as well, to talk a little bit about what we're seeing here in New Jersey. And I'm happy to also share a little bit about the YWCA of Northern New Jersey and the journey we've gone as an organization to try to make sure that everyone in our community knows that we're a safe space as well. And so this is, as Molly said at the onset, we all have a role in this, and a way to be able to look back in 30 years on this conversation as well and have it feel primitive. And which is, we'd like it to happen sooner than that, of course. And we can definitely speed up that time if more of us are involved. So get your tickets, watch the film, and then, as always, it also always comes with TIFF. There's always an action agenda of what you can do, because this is, you get to watch a film, but you also really get to open your mind, open your heart, and jump all in and get active. I see Barbara Giarmo is watching, and she said that she has her ticket and can't wait to watch the film on Thursday. And we can't wait to watch it with you, Barb. So glad you got a ticket. So any last comments from either of you? And again, for our viewers, we have the link here, so you can buy either your all access pass for the week, or you can buy just for the Thursday evening, so you can watch Little Girl and be part of our talk back afterwards.
I would just say, if you have friends that are interested in these topics, the great thing is call your friends. If they live in California, if they live in Texas, if they live in Chicago, they can participate, and you can all participate at the same time and be a part of this conversation. So it's really exciting that we're able to present in this platform, and again, present a topic that's so critical and so important.
Thank you. Thank you both.
And look forward to talking with you more on Thursday, Molly. It'll be here before we know it, I know. But with that, everyone, again, just a reminder, the link is here so you can get your ticket. And you can go to the website and see all the other opportunities and other films that kick in as of this evening. Also, I also just want to make sure to make a quick announcement that today, November 15th, is the last day for any families that want to register for the child tax credit, whether you file your taxes or don't. If you have children, you have the potential to receive a child tax credit through the stimulus payments through our IRS. We have a link here so that the YW will help you do that paperwork if you haven't need any assistance for that. So please, check that out if you haven't already. And also, we want to encourage anyone who's interested in our Money Matters conversation. We'll be having that this Thursday at 10 a.m. It's a free virtual conversation from a panel of money experts to help figure out how money issues impact your finances. So with that, I can't wait to see you again, Molly, in a few days, and Jeremy as well. And I know Jeremy's busy, and I want to thank both of you for taking the time to, chat with me a little bit this morning. And hopefully we've got some people excited to go grab their ticket. I'm so happy that we had a great kickoff in person. And wonderful that it's gonna. I know. It's gonna be a great week as well, virtually. And Molly, before we leave each other, can you tell us about the 20th of November? Because I know we're this, as we said, is Transgender Visibility Week. So, and I know it kind of culminates with the day of, which we were talking about before we went live.
Yeah, so November 20th, I'm pretty sure, again, my memory can be a bit of a sieve, but you can Google it. Our Google God will tell us for sure what's true. That was a joke.
Yes.
November 20th is the Transgender Day of Remembrance. And in the TQ community, the trans queer community, it's a day of silence because transgender and non-binary people live in shunned silence. Like my family, we've been, a lot of people have shunned us and walked away from us and ghosted us, I think is the Zoomer term. So it's a day of silence, and allies and advocates will honor their trans and non-binary friends and family by spending the day in silence, because that's the trans experience. It was risky for me to come on. There were many families who were parents who were asked to participate, and the fear of safety and retribution against them and their families was great. And I talked to a few of those families, and I have over the years. So there is a tremendous amount of risk involved in stepping forward and pulling yourself up into the light and advocating. So I'm speaking. Yeah.
And we so appreciate that you're sharing your story again for the opportunity to, educate, build bridges, and, help push progress forward for sure. So with that, everyone be well, and we'll gather together. This group will gather together with all of you, hopefully on Thursday evening. And until then, we'll enjoy the rest of the films at the Teaneck International Film Festival. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye.